When you come into the world, we take on the identity of those who are more powerful than us. What we're looking for is a kind of person who is looking for meaning. What's the meaning of life? Why am I here?
Well, hello and welcome to another Sunday conversation, although this is more like a Sunday lecture because we're still not doing the Sunday conversation with people in the studio. It's just you and me. And a lot of people are like, oh, what were the two words today, Alan? And it's funny because the two words today were stop rotting. And it's funny because that's been resonating in my mind for a couple of years since I said to one of my boys, I go, what are you doing? Because he was just sitting on the couch, on his phone. And he says, just rotting. And I thought to myself, boy, isn't that what's going on right now? A lot of people are just sitting home, rotting. And I just think it needs to be brought to the surface. We need to talk about it. I guess you have to ask yourself, are you rotting? Are you just sitting there waiting for something to happen? Life is like it's very much like a roller coaster ride right now, because it just seems like this battle for the hearts and minds of men and women is very intense. And what happens is because it causes stress and anxiety and fear, people just stop. They stop living. And that's the wrong thing to do. I have actually had a really good year. I think because I've had a chance to really take a look at my life. Because when the whole world kind of stops as we know it, you can't go to the movies, you can't go to the Broadway plays, you can't go out to dinner, you can't do a lot of things that you used to do. Your freedoms have been really limited. You have a choice. You can either sit in fear and have all that anxiety and angst, which is rotting you from the inside out. Or you can look at yourself and say, I really need to make some changes. So maybe this was God's way of saying, slow down, take a look at yourself. So I guess I could just use my life as an example. It's the only thing I have, so I'm going to use my life. I find that I don't want to just sit there and watch the news hour after hour after hour. And when I do, and I do sometimes sit and watch the news when something really important's going on, but when I do, I feel like it's being fed to me, spoon-fed to me, no matter what news channel I'm watching, whether it be Fox or CNN or MSNBC or CBS or ABC or any of them. It's all being spoon-fed to me like a little baby sitting with a bib on, and it just goes right in and it becomes a part of me. Whether it's I spend the most of my time on a conservative or a liberal channel. Obviously for me, it's going to be Fox. That's about the one I watch. Every time I flip over to the left, it's insanity. They have the same narrative over and over and over and over again. And I just think to myself, come on, we're not morons. But what happens is I start to become bewildered. Like, I'm not sure what to do. I don't know whether I should go do this or I should go do that, because what if this and what if that? And it's all fear-based and doubt-based. I don't want to live a life of fear and doubt. Do you want to live a life of fear and doubt? I hope not. So I find my quiet spot and I just give some open-minded prayer, like, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to go out and I'm going to see what I can find to do. Now, sometimes that's fixing the plumbing. Sometimes that's preparing for winter if you live in a cold state. I go outside and my eyes are open to many opportunities. Whether, like I said, I can fix this or do that, or, do things I don't want to do or haven't had time to do. And it's funny because that's what happened yesterday. I thought, it's starting to get cold. Maybe I'll winterize all my hose bibs and things and put some insulation on them. And it was kind of a big job. I mean, I have a lot of them. I have 3.5 acres of property, and we have a big garden. And you don't think about how many hose things are sticking out of the ground that could possibly freeze until you have to start wrapping each one with some sort of insulation. And then I got to the end of that, and I thought, all right, well, that was good. I got that done. And while I was at work, while I was working, while the hands are at work, the mind is at ease. So while I was working, I was free. My mind was not cluttered with the news of the day, the spoon-fed news that causes anxiety, and I wasn't just sitting there with drool running out of my mouth, rotting. So I think that too many of us right now during this election, which, can we say it's scary? Well, it's odd. It's not scary to me because our country has been through many, many things before. We've had a couple of world wars. We've had civil war. We've had all kinds of catastrophe, 9/11, and we're still here. So we sit in fear, thinking to ourselves, the world's going to come to an end. Now, not that you shouldn't prepare in case things get bad. You prepare for a storm. You batten down the hatches. You board up the windows if you have a storefront. If you have a home that is going to be hit by the winds, you put plywood up, a defense. Well, why aren't we doing that for our minds? So many of us, every day, fear, fear, fear. We walk through life, fear. Oh no, oh no, oh no. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? God knows what you need before you even ask. The problem is people don't even ask. So they just go through their lives living in this anxiety. And what does that do? It rots you. Back to the original thought. Stop rotting. I want to live. I want to live a healthy life. And I say that, and I can hear my daughter saying, Dad, then you need to eat better. My wife says, let's go for walks. Let's go do this. And I said, well, stop talking about it and let's just do it. But the reality is that we can do a lot about our lives, or we can sit and rot. So each day I choose to get up out of bed. I don't sleep late. I wake up and I say, what's it gonna be like today, God? And I don't wait for an answer because I can't. If I sit there with my mouth hanging open waiting for a roast chicken to fly in, it's not going to happen. So I just put it out there and I just get up, get my day going, walk outside, and my eyes are going to see something that I should have done, that I could have done, that I need to do. And some of those things are finding my problems, my faults, dealing with things I haven't dealt with in a long time. I need to illuminate them. I need to find them, fix them, and move on with life. But first you have to face them. And most of us don't want to face our problems. We don't want to face our children that are angry at us. We don't want to face our ex-wives or our current wives or our husbands or our ex-husbands. Things that have been left unsaid for far too long. I realize that owning your mistakes is important. I think that's part of the repentance process, is to own it. If you make a mistake and you own it and you learn from it and grow from it, you become a better person. If you make a mistake and you deny that you've made a mistake, then you're destined to make that mistake again. And you better own that at some point. Because I watch people year after year, including myself, year after year making the same mistakes over and over again and expecting a different outcome. And that's just becoming more insane by the day. So I want to find my problems. I want to follow them. I want to face them. And then I want to fix them. And the only way I can fix them is to just fess up to them. I've made mistakes. You know, the reality is that to grow is not very hard, but it seems like it's hard because the little dark voice inside is always constantly telling you you can't do it, or telling you what the outcome is going to be before it even happens. How does the devil know what the outcome is going to be before it happens? The devil is not God. God is the only one that knows what the outcome will be before it happens. But the devil, doubt, lies to you and tells you all kinds of lies. Oh, well, if you do that, if you confess, then this is going to happen and that's going to happen, and you'll end up in jail, or you'll end up with this, or people will think ill of you, or people are going to look down their nose at you. Who cares? Do you live your life for what other people think of you? Yes, most of us do. That's why we can't change. I had to fess up to something the other day. And I thought, it took me years and years and years. And I thought, for all those years, I thought, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. Years and years and years. And then I finally fessed up to it. But I apologized. And it wasn't what the devil told me it was going to be. It was just over. It was like, thank you. That was it. It was just a little thing. But the most important part of this story that I'm telling you is that for years I believed the doubt. Why do we choose to believe the doubt instead of the faith? Because we really don't have true faith. We have it if it's in front of us, if we can see it, if we can touch it, if we can feel it, if we can smell it. But that's not what faith is. So I don't want to rot anymore. I feel like I got to this point where I'm 60 years old, and I thought, how much more time do I really have to experience freedom? Look at our government right now. They're covering up all kinds of nasty things on the left. And they're being found out. The truth eventually comes out, one way or another. One way or another in your life, the truth will come out, maybe on your deathbed. Is that what you want? When you don't really have time to be able to make amends for it, and you try in your last breath to say, I'm sorry, I love you. Well, that's not what anybody wants. You need to start looking at your life the way I've been looking at my life and saying, you know what? I only have so much life left to live, and I have to stop rotting in life. I want to start living. I want to start experiencing joy. And it's funny because joy, something that I've always looked for and seeked for, is better than I thought it would be. You know, it's like when you see a big hot fudge sundae, you see it and there it is, and it's the ice cream and the chocolate and a banana split maybe, or whatever it is you love, and the whipped cream and the nuts, and it just looks so good. And then you eat it, and then what happens afterwards? You feel guilty. You feel guilty. And while you're eating it, it's not as good as it looked. It's good. It tastes yummy. Good is the wrong word, but it tastes yummy. But towards the end, it's like you want more. But as soon as you are told you can't have any more, that's it. Or you tell yourself one is enough because I'm already too fat. Then the guilt comes in. Oh, I shouldn't have eaten that. I've got diabetes. I'm overweight. I didn't eat dinner yet, or I ate dinner, now I'm stuffed and I'm going to have a stomach ache. Guilt. And it's funny because now I experience joy in the simple things of life. Of course, it's fall, right? The sun was coming through the trees the other day, and we have this Japanese maple, and the leaves had all turned red and orange. And I was sitting in the chair just watching my grandson play, and I got a little twinkle in the corner of my eye, and I looked over, and it was kind of God winking or saying, hey, I'm over here. And I got to look and see the sun coming through the leaves, and the color was bright red and bright orange, and the sunlight was bright white. And it was just, I thought to myself, God, the ultimate artist. And it was so beautiful. We seek out these beautiful places, but we really can't appreciate them because we have so much baggage we take with us. But as I'm getting rid of my baggage, I find that my joy is so much nicer. It's a slice of heaven. Joy is a slice of heaven on earth. And I was sitting there surrounded with beautiful things, my little beautiful grandson just playing a cup of water and pouring it out, dipping it and pouring it, dipping it and pouring it over and over and over again. He was mesmerized with the dipping and pouring of this water. He's 2.5 years old. And the sunlight through the shimmering leaves, just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. The fact that I don't live with guilt. I don't live with harboring the enemy, because I don't want to live with the enemy. So I follow him when he pokes his little ugly head up. I search him out, I face him, and I say, get out of here. We're done with you. We're going to make this right. How are you going to make it right? Repent. And that part of that repenting is going to people that you've done wrong things to and say, I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I was not in my right mind. But I find joy in the simplest things now. Digging a ditch. I think, well, I could pay somebody to dig this ditch, or I could dig it myself. Now, it's funny because I was digging up some sprinklers. I wanted to move a sprinkler in the yard, and there was a big thistle bush. I mean, a big one. It's like 7 or 8 feet tall. And as much above ground as this gigantic bush is, it's also below ground, and it had gotten all into my sprinkler system at my house, on my yard. And I started digging, and it was like, oh my gosh, I kind of like digging. The ground was moist because it was the morning yesterday and the sprinklers had been on. And then I started getting into those roots that were amazing. They were just everywhere. And it was just like, it was solid roots right below the surface, solid roots. And then I hit my PVC pipe that carries the water to the sprinklers. And I was like, there it is. So I dug all around it, and it was just really hard, back-breaking work. But I was enjoying it. I was sweating, and the sweat's running off my nose and down my cheeks, and I'm seeing it dripping, and I'm thinking, too many hot fudge sundaes for me. I'm overweight. I'm thinking to myself, boy, this is good. This is the workout I need. I don't want to go to a gym. You can't go to a gym anyway because COVID. And I'm out here working and digging and working, and I'm looking at these roots, and I'm thinking to myself, isn't that life? Life is so full of roots that are just below the surface that make it so hard for you to dig down and really find the problem. So I dug it all out, and I was like, oh, yes, I got it. I figured it out. There was a T, and then there was a soft line going over to the sprinkler. And I had hit the soft line at one point with my shovel, and I put a hole in it. And I thought, that's okay. I'll just unscrew it off of there, and we'll fix it. And then I dug all around it, and I dug under it, and I was looking at it, and I had this big pile of roots and things. And then there was a big root about this big underneath the PVC pipe for my sprinkler. It was that big. It was a big one. And so I was chopping with my shovel. And I got one side, and then I went to the other, and I was chopping. I think that big root was from the big old oak tree or something that was here. And I thought, these are like my problems. Sometimes I got to chop away at them for a while. And I got it. But right before I got that last one big hit, and then I bent the shovel down, and it popped. It took where there was a T and the sprinkler head hooked to it. It took that with it, and it broke it off. And I went, oh, you dirty rotten. And I watched myself start to get a little bit angry. I thought, oh, that's 3 times the work now. Again, just like our problems, they don't want to go. They got roots inside of you. They don't want to leave. So I thought, it's okay. Don't get mad. Don't get mad. That's what it wants. That's what it wants. Because every time you get mad, the roots grow a little deeper. You get mad, the roots spread a little more. You get mad, they grow up and down and in and out and round, and they wrap themselves around. Every time you get mad. Every time you get mad. At the littlest thing, cut your finger. You probably can't see it, but I have like a cut in the middle of my forehead. And it's healing now. I was in my bathroom and I was coming out of my bathroom and I looked over to the left to make sure. I thought, did I make my bed? And I don't really make it. I just pull the covers over, but I don't like to just leave it all disheveled. So I pull the covers over. I thought, did I make my bed? And then I did. And I kept on walking and the door was halfway closed or halfway opened or closed, whichever one you want. But I ran head on into it, right smack in the middle of my forehead, and I had blood dripping down. But when I smacked my head like that, it was like, wake up, dummy, wake up. I thought, it was like, bong. And then I just thought, wow. And I could feel that there was a cut. And I thought, okay. I look at every single thing that happens to me in my life, good, bad, or ugly, as a chance to either overreact, underreact, and act like I'm just a zombie, or just look at it. Because it hurt. So my days I spend taking a look at life, just being conscious. It's a conscious, I guess you could say it's a meditative state, finding that state of consciousness. So when I watch the news, I can see the little subtle twist they give to certain things. I can see somebody who's sincerely wanting to tell the truth, and I can see somebody who is a liar. And I just turn the channel if it's a liar. But there's a lot of subtleties going on in life. There's a lot of subtleties going on in the news. There's a lot of subtleties going on in the politics. So when I busted that piece of PVC pipe with the big fat root, I thought, all right, I could see that little anger. When I hit my head, I could see that little opportunity. I go, all right. And everybody's trying to offer me solutions. Oh, put some ice on it. Put some hydrogen peroxide on it. Put a Band-Aid on it. Do this, do that. I go, no, it's okay. It's just really nothing. It's just it'll heal. It's going to go away. It's not a big deal. I got a bit of an egg. You probably can't see it. I put some powder on for the lights, but it's funny because everybody has a solution. Everybody offers a solution. God bless them. I appreciate it. Thank you. Sometimes I take them. I don't want anybody to not offer to help me. But I have to be the one at the end of the day that makes the decisions in my life. I have to not listen to the news people to tell me, spoon feed me what I should know, what I should think, because that's just a weak mind. I'm going to dive off here for a second. A friend of mine used to take psyllium husk all the time because he had a problem going to the bathroom. So he would take psyllium husk. And he'd always say, well, I got to get some husk. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to go to the bathroom. And I remember thinking to myself, well, it's because of the garbage you eat. Anyway, he took psyllium husk every single day. And what did it do? His doctor told him he now has a lazy colon. And I thought to myself, that's us. We get lazy. We can get a lazy colon. You get a lazy mind. You become lazy. So I just wanted to tell you that story because I thought it was so funny, because all things in moderation. So I watch the news, but I still think for myself. I want to be a clear thinking individual. And so I busted the pipe and I thought, all right, I got to go and I got to buy some pieces for that. And then there was another pipe I had that was coming out from underneath some brickwork that I had done a decade ago. And I actually had turned the water off because it looked ominous to me. And I thought, I'm going to fix that. So I went over to this other part of my property and I dug and I dug and I dug. And I thought to myself, this is miserable work. But I dug with a good spirit. I just kept digging and digging and digging. And I actually dug down and I could see, oh, well, this is really not that hard of a fix at all. The person that was lazy, that did the bad work, caused the problem by being lazy. And a lazy brain and a lazy colon. So I dug down and dug underneath it. And then I thought, all right, I'm going to go to the store now and I'm going to buy some different fittings and pieces and things like this. And that way I can kill two birds with one stone, fix both these problems, one trip to the store, trying to be efficient. And I went to the store and I bought all my pieces and I came back home and I spent most of the day fixing this problem. And I'm telling you, this is really simple because to me, this is a metaphor for life. Sometimes it takes a little time to fix a problem. You got to dig down, find out where the problem is. Where did you make the problem? Did you make excuses for making the problem? And is the problem still buried under there alive? It's buried alive. You've buried it under layers of years of life. And now it's buried alive under there. The problem still exists, right? So I dig up the problem. There it is. Oh, it's not as bad as I thought. For this 10 years I've been looking at it. And I remember even when I poured concrete, I put like a manhole, small manhole cover on there to where I could get in and turn the water on and off because I knew that was a problem. And so it's been, maybe it's been 12 years. I've been avoiding that problem to the point that I even had the water turned off to it. So I thought, well, I wonder if the water even works out of this pipe anymore. I opened that little manhole cover. It hadn't been opened in a decade. And it was just full of spiders and things that are scary. And I thought, again, it's just like my problems. There's all kinds of stuff in there that are scary looking. It's buried. But I thought, with a little bit of courage, I can do this. I just stuck my hand in there and scooped a bunch of junk out. And I saw a big spider, so I put on a glove and I kind of got the junk out of the way and I threw it into a pile of junk that was going there. And then I took the glove off because I wanted to see if I could move it, and I was digging around and I found the valve and it was this far below the dirt. I don't know why. Where did the dirt come from? It just came in from the sides. But it's the same thing about our problems. They get buried and then there's spiders and scary things that are all around them. But if you just dig a little bit and you just deal with it, illuminate the problem. I looked in there with my flashlight and I could see, well, it just is what it is. I dug it out, I turned it on, and I went over to the faucet and it worked. Horrible, nasty water came out for a minute, but it worked. So I turned it back off. I fixed it. I fixed it properly. And now I have a functioning life. I have a functioning hose. It's so easy. It's the same thing. Everything is so relative in that way. And I had a sense of accomplishment. And then as I was putting the last screw in to hold the new pipe with the new hose bib on it, I was screwing it in, and the piece of wood I cut to fit behind it cracked. And I went, it's okay. I'll cut another one. And this time I'll pre-drill the holes. I'll be thoughtful. So I'm telling you this because life is so simple. We complicate it. We complicate it with layers and layers and layers and layers and spiders and scary goblins and And we don't want to deal with it. We want to leave it buried. We know there's a problem over there. We know it exists. It's buried under life. But you know, when you bury something, you've buried it alive. You got to dig it up. You got to deal with it. But all having a good attitude. Attitude is latitude, as they say. So I fixed that one, and I went back over to the other one. And it was starting to get a little bit late, and I thought, I'm going to deal with this one tomorrow, which is today. I have all my pieces kind of laid out. I have it pretty much dug up, and I thought I need to turn off the sprinkler system because it's on a timer, because now it's got a 1/2-inch hole in it since it busted it off, and I don't want to, just flood the whole yard out there and where I'm working, my workspace as well. And something distracted me, and I went in the house, and I was lying in bed at 11:30 last night, or 11:15 or so, and I was just watching my thoughts go by, watching the day, the conversations that were had. My kids all came over last night, and we were watching the news, watching some old videos, and just laughing and having a good time, and again, feeling joy that is just, it's a beautiful thing. Watching my children and their lives blossoming, kind of like watching your garden that you've taken good care of start to issue fruit and vegetables. And it's nurturing to the soul, watching my children. And so I felt very full of life, gratitude, and appreciation. So I went to bed, and I was lying there watching all these thoughts. And then God poked me, and he said, did you turn off the water out there so that your work area wouldn't get flooded? And I went, oh no, I forgot to do that. Now it's cold out, 35 degrees. I'm in my warm bed. I watched that, and something was just wanting me to get angry, wanting me to get frustrated. And as I watched that, like, oh, I didn't do that. I could see, though, that it was something not of me. I just said, no, I'll just get up and put a shirt on and some pajamas and get on my flip-flops and go out to the other side of the garage where it's dark and cold and dewy and damp, and turn off the little valve. So I got up and I went and did it, and it was no big deal. It was no big deal. I'm telling you all this because we complicate life through being angry, through giving in to anger. What happens when you get angry? The roots grow. They grow inside of your soul. They grow and they get in the way of the delivery mechanism, which is your Father in heaven who wants to deliver to you joy and peace of mind and peace of heart. And it's so funny because we're such complicators. We complicate our life. Oh, it doesn't matter. I'll just let the water come out, and then now I've flooded the whole thing, and it's another set of problems, and I go out there, oh, dang it. Why? It's so easy. If you leave your anger at the door and don't let it come in, if you just say, no thanks, nope, not for me, keep a good attitude, life changes. And so I look at this election right now, and everybody is full of angst. And I can feel it. It exists. It's a spirit that's in the air that's swirling around like the ghosts. I don't know if you remember the ghosts when we would watch Bugs Bunny or any of the cartoons, and the ghosts were like sheets flying around. And you don't know what's in them. The sheets are flying around just to give form to the ghosts. That's what's going on. The energy of the evil that is in this world is swirling around trying to find a weak vessel, trying to find a doubting Thomas, a doubting vessel to go in and inhabit with its fear, its doubt. If that's you, then, well, if the shoe fits. So the question is, do you have faith? Do you have faith enough to know and understand that God knows everything you need before you even ask for it? And that no matter what the outcome is of this election, sure, you want to vote. Absolutely, you want to vote. Because all it takes for good or for evil to prevail in the world is for good men to do nothing and good women to do nothing. So yes, you want to do something, just like I had to get out of bed and turn off the water. You got to do something. You have to act. But you don't have to be angry about it. You watch all these people that are protesting. You watch, here's Biden's people and here's Trump's people, and they come together and then and they start fighting. No. Just look at it. Let people say whatever they want to you. That 16-year-old boy from high school that I can't think of his name, that everybody was yelling at him, and he just looked straight ahead with a little tiny turned up smile because he didn't know what to do. But he knew that he was innocent. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He let them yell at him and say all kinds of horrible things. He's a multimillionaire now because he didn't succumb to the temptation to strike back. So he turned the other cheek. Now, I know my dad is the kind of guy that would probably love a good fight. But he's also smart enough to know not to fight. And my dad learned jujitsu, where you're using the other person's energy to your advantage. That's how it works. If they lunge for you, you grab their arms while they're trying to grab you, and you pull them in the direction they're already going, and they flip. That's the end of that. And they're like, what just happened? Because they're not in their right mind anyway. The idea is to just stay calm. Just watch. Just know that God knows what's going on, and God should, and always has for me, guide you in the right direction. Guide you to say and do the right things. I didn't know what I was going to talk about except stop rotting. Quit rotting. Too many of us are just rotting inside of our own heads. And what's happening is our soul is the thing ultimately that's rotting. It starts up here because we're being spoon-fed all kinds of information, whether it be good, bad, or ugly, causing you to doubt what you know is right in your heart. And a lot of us think, well, I'm just not smart enough. I don't know what to do. I'm not that smart. Do you ever think you're not that smart? You're not. I'm not that smart. Nobody's that smart. They use these scholarly words, and they use all these big fancy words, and they go to school and they get their intellects are grown out of control to where they can use all kinds of vernacular that the average person goes, oh, that sounds too smart for me. It's above my pay grade. Well, it really is just, it's like a whole nother language of intellectual mumbo jumbo. As my dad would say, babble, babble, babble. And if you remember the Tower of Babel, it kind of comes from that. What you know in your heart is more valuable than all the big words in the world that you don't know. You can look them up and you go, oh, why didn't they just say that? Because they want to sound really smart. I like to use plain language. I used to remember hearing my dad saying things. I was like, I don't know what that means. Oh, man, I'll never be that smart. And it's funny, my dad quit school when he was 14 years old. But through life and through reading and through understanding language and really, truly wanting to understand language, he started picking up on these words that you can use one word to say a lot of things. But I think it's also important to say that one word and then break it down so that the average human being can understand it and grasp it. And so I'm not I'm not faulting my dad for that. I think my dad was just brilliant in so many ways and still is. And, we lost Sean Connery, 007, at 90 years old. My dad's 92, going on 93. And I think to myself, you know what? No matter what ailment he's had, he's always been able to get to the other side of it through how he lives his life, through how he believes, through what he believes. He said to me the other day, he says, I'm going to live to be 100. And I said, yeah. He says, maybe 200. I said, I hope not. I said, because I ain't going to be here to take care of you. He's funny. But the whole digging in the dirt and the weeds and the roots, it made me really think. So if I back up even further and I think, well, why am I telling all this stupid yard work stuff at the Sunday conversation? Well, because, see, had I sat in my house and continued watching the news, it's important right now. There's a lot going on. There's an election coming up. I could make an excuse. I need to sit here and watch that. Or I could just get up and say, I've heard enough for today. I can come back and check later. It'll still be there. The talking heads will still be talking. The beautiful thing is I can go back and rewind because of DVR, or I can go online and I can find, what's happening right now with this person. You can do all the searches you want. So the excuse that you need to stay watching the news and all of what's going on doesn't work. But had I not got up and gone out there and dug in the dirt, gotten closer to Mother Earth, she wouldn't have spoken to me through the weeds and rocks and roots that I had to dig through, and made me think about what's going on inside of me, inside of you. So I guess today's talk is really just about stop rotting your soul, because that's ultimately what happens. Now let's talk about this election just a little bit. I have not had, doubt. I have not had fear. Something keeps saying to me, something wicked this way come. So I think, all right, well, batten down the hatches a little bit. Make sure that I have reserves. Keep your powder dry. I mean, these are all little sayings that, you have to think about when times it could get ugly. I was watching the news this morning, and they were interviewing people in a little restaurant. And the one woman, he says, what do you think about this whole election? And she says, well, I have fear that there's going to be an uprising afterwards. She goes, I think Trump is going to win, but I have a fear that the left is not going to allow it to just be what it is, and they're gonna riot, and they're gonna do this, that, and the other. And I thought to myself, well, other people have these same thoughts. Now I look, is it that fear? Is it fear in me? No, it's not fear. Did Noah, while he was building the ark, have fear? Why am I building this giant ark? God put it in his heart, and he obeyed. So God puts into my heart to be a good shepherd of my children and my family and my flock. And he says, make sure that you prepare and be prepared. So I always stand ready. I always know where things are that I will need. I like to have certain order to my things so that I can put my hand right on them. My kids leave things around here, and I always say, no, this goes here, and that goes there, and this goes here. That way, when you need it, you put your hand right on it. Better be looking at it than for it. And I've always felt that about me. Better to be looking at me than for me. And that's been a theme in my life, and it's worked out well. Show up early. Early to bed, early to rise makes Alan healthy, wealthy, and wise. Makes you healthy, wealthy, and wise. Life is simple. We don't need to complicate it the way we do. So with this election, you cast your vote. You vote with your conscience. You vote for the future that you want. There's a platform that is a platform of life, prosperity, freedom, and there's a different platform for the opposite things. You vote your heart. You vote your conscience. And then you step back and maybe you talk to other people about it. Have you noticed that even when you go on social media, you'll see things that people are saying and you go, I've got to say something. My wife's right now, she is nonstop. I'm like, who are you talking to? Oh, just responding to somebody. She goes, I got to set the record straight. I got to set the record straight. And I thought, okay. I'm not going to deny her that. She wants to set the record straight. I'm trying to set the record straight. Everybody to each in their own time and ability. But I think keeping a really important, positive, clear thinking, calm way about you is the most important thing, because you will get drawn into an argument. You will get drawn into becoming angry if you're not in the right place. But I watch this world right now, and I can see that people are waking up. You're probably waking up. You're probably seeing things more clearly for the first time in your life, or maybe for the 50th time in your life. But this time, maybe, hopefully it'll stick, right? Because we wake up over and over again, and we fall back asleep. And we wake up, and then we fall back asleep. We wake up, and then we fall off the turnip truck completely. And we chase it down and jump back on it. But this particular election is a very important one, as you can tell, because it's really, truly a battle between good and evil. It's a battle for the hearts and minds of men and women. And it's a battle for our country, the United States of America. And China wants the U.S., the Chinese states of America. That's why they used bioweapons against us. That's what this whole coronavirus thing is. It's a man-made virus. And we have to make sure that we are living the right kind of life so that we can be guided from our Father in heaven as to what to do each day and what to do with our lives. But if you get angry, if you get doubtful, if you have fear, if you're being spoon-fed to where it's driving you insane inside your head and you have angst and anxiety, then you're not living right. Those are the signs. When you're driving your car down the road and you hit the guardrail, you have a choice to make. You either keep screeching up against the guardrail, or you straighten out and you pull away from the guardrail and you get back in the center of your lane. You got to stay in your lane. These little things that are happening to us, anxiety and fear, those are all bumping up against the guardrails of life, spiritual life. This is ultimately a giant test to see who's the enlightened ones and who are the ones that, if you remember when Moses went up to the mountain to get the 10 Commandments and he came back and they were going crazy. There was a few along the outside edges that were just kind of like, wow, wait till Moses gets back, because I have nothing I can do about this right now. But that's where we are right now. And I'm not saying that Donald Trump is Moses by any means, but boy, I'll tell you what, he is sure clearing out the Dathans of the world. So, live in gratitude, meditate so that you can find your way back to the center of the lane of your life. Stay centered, stay calm, recognize when you're bumping up against the guardrails, straighten yourself back out, and have faith. Because God, at the end of the day, has his hand on what is going on in our country. I believe that Trump is going to win. If he doesn't, well, I'll still be here tomorrow. the sun will come up again, and it'll be that much more. We'll have to learn from whatever it is we haven't learned yet in this country, because we keep on repeating these same things. But as you know, if you've been following my father's teachings for the 50 years or 55 years that he's been talking this way, he's been prophesizing that this was going to happen. And here it is. Here it is. So it's I guess just a simple note this particular talk, which is to live in gratitude, find your roots, the root causes of your problems by looking honestly at what you've done in your life to be where you're at today. Look at the relationships you've damaged and maybe find them, follow them, and fix them. And how do you fix them once again? You repent and you say you're sorry. And believe it or not, the healing begins. And that's kind of like the winter, spring, summer, and fall. And in your life, springtime is when you repent and things start to grow again. It's a beautiful thing. And then you can experience joy. Because aren't we looking for joy and peace of mind? I am. I hope that you join me on the journey. I think we all need to say a little prayer for Donald Trump. And because there's lots of forces of evil that are working against him. I am absolutely blown away by his work ethic. I'm blown away by his energy and how he can continue to just get out there and do what he does for us. So I think it's pretty cool. Let's say a prayer for the United States of America. I'm not going to do it. You get to do your own. I'll do it in private. I'm Alan Masters. Foundation of Human Understanding still needs your support, and we thank you for the support that we are getting. And don't forget that you can hear our radio show. We have an app. It is FHUVisionApp.com, FHUVisionApp.com. And then you put in your own code, and you can listen to the Sunday Conversations, the radio show. You can watch the Sunday Conversations, and there's all kinds of other great stuff there. And then also all the teachings of my father. We have a weekly newsletter that we send out. And so we put the last week's links to the radio show. We put the link to the Sunday Conversation. And we always put aphorisms from my father, a book that something came out of. There's usually a story. So if you want to get on the weekly update mailing list, drop us a line. Let us know. I'm Alan Masters. God bless America. God bless you. See you next time.